If you're looking to build muscle and train smarter with an upper-lower split, this video is going to walk you through an example upper day. We're going to talk about frequency, volume, exercise selection, as well as weekly programming. The first thing that we need to establish is our frequency. Now, when you do an upper-lower split, there's two main ways that people do it. There's the 3 times frequency version and the 2 times frequency version. So we'll talk about the 3 times frequency first. Essentially, you're going to the gym 6 days a week and you're hitting each muscle group 3 times a week. Now, what that would look like on an actual weekly basis, it would be Monday upper, Tuesday lower, Wednesday upper, Thursday lower, Friday rest, Saturday upper, and Sunday lower. So you're in the gym 6 days a week and you've got one rest day. The reason that this is my preferred version of the upper lower split and the one that I've been running for the last 9 months or so is because frequency beats volume. So let's say you do 6 total sets per muscle group on a weekly basis. You splitting that up into 3 sessions instead of 2 is going to be better from a muscle growth standpoint. The reason for that is when you split that up into 3 separate sessions, that's 3 separate times that you're stimulating muscle growth. As well as this, it's going to be less atrophy periods in between your workouts. However, a big problem that people have with it is you're in the gym 6 times a week with only one rest day. So obviously people have other responsibilities outside of the gym. So this split is only really for people that want to maximize growth and are able to go to the gym 6 times a week. As well as this, there's only one rest day. And a lot of people are worried that they're not going to be able to recover properly with only one rest day during the week. But the benefit of doing this 3 times variant is that you're able to reduce your volume per session. So despite your total volume remaining the same, your actual volume within each individual session is going to be less. So you're not going to be spending a whole lot of time in the gym. Most of my upper body sessions are finished in about an hour, I'd say. Which is honestly not as bad as you think. And since your volume per session is quite low, the recovery is manageable. I would recommend this 3 times variant to most people, as I think it's objectively better for muscle growth, but I do understand that it doesn't work for everybody. People have other responsibilities that they need to tend to. Now, I am going to base the rest of this video off 3 times frequency split when we start looking at exercise selection, but let me briefly touch on the 2 times for other people that are interested. So what that would look like on a weekly basis is Monday upper, Tuesday lower, Wednesday rest, Thursday upper, Friday lower, and then Saturday and Sunday rest. So you can see that you're hitting each muscle group 2 times a week. You're in the gym a total of 4 times a week, and you've got 3 rest days. So you can see a big benefit of that is those added rest days. If you have time to do other activities that you enjoy outside of the gym. Now, the only main issue is that since you're taking these extra rest days to meet that total volume number that we're going to establish a bit later on, each individual session is going to have a wee bit more volume. So you're going to have to do a couple more extra sets to match the total amount of volume. Whereas on our 3 times split, it could be a wee bit less, if that makes sense. Now, a lot of people might just say that, oh, well, if you're only hitting each muscle group twice a week on this version of upper lower, why wouldn't you just do a push-pull legs or an Arnold split? But the problem is, if you do a push-pull legs and Arnold split, you're not getting those added rest days. Upper lower gives you 3 rest days, whereas if you're doing a push-pull legs, you're not going to get that same amount of rest within a week. So either way, I view upper lower as a superior split, whether or not you do the 3 times frequency variant or the 2 times frequency variant. Either way, I just think it's a much better option for most people. Of course, splitting up the volume is the main part of this. So let's say, for example, you do 6 sets for your chest over the course of a whole week. On our 3 times variant, you can split that up into 3 sessions of 2 sets. But for our 2 times variant, it's going to have to be 2 sessions of 3 sets each. And as we know, frequency does beat volume. So it's not going to be as good from a muscle growth standpoint as our 3 times variant. And that's why splits like Bro Split or D tier, because you're only producing a stimulus for muscle growth once a week. We want to be able to do that as much as possible while being able to recover at the same time. Okay, cool. We've got our frequency sorted. Now we need to decide on volume and a total number of sets per muscle group for the entire course of the week. Now, generally a range that I would recommend is anywhere from probably about 6 to 10. It's going to be a good place for most people. But the problem is not everybody's recovery is going to be the exact same. So some people are going to be able to recover from a lot more volume than other people. 6 to 10 sets per muscle group per week for some people might be nowhere near enough, whereas for other people it could be too much, which sounds weird, but you'd be surprised. Personally, I aim for 6 sets per week on basically all of my muscle groups, and that is definitely on the lower side. But honestly, if you train hard, close to failure, probably around 0 to 1 hour IR, look to progressively overload as much as possible and be conscious of fatigue management. 6 good sets with quality form is going to be plenty. You'd be surprised how little you can get away with when you dial in on every other factor. Okay, so we've got our frequency of 3 times a week, and we'll go for 6 sets per muscle group per week, like I do on a normal weekly basis. Now we need to look at exercise selection. When I'm doing my workouts, I would always recommend that you start your workouts with your lagging muscle groups. So look at your physique, whatever part of your body you can see is the weakest, start with that. The reason is your first initial sets, you're going to have the most amount of energy, you're going to be able to give the most amount of effort into these sets. And as you go on in a workout, each set, you're going to be able to give less and less effort. Therefore, the first initial sets that you perform are going to be the most hypertrophic. So you want to use that to your benefit and put your weakest muscle groups at the start. That way, if you consistently do this over time, you're going to build a much more balanced physique. My chest, unfortunately, is by far my weakest. So we're going to start with that. I'm going to keep it real simple. So we're doing 3 sessions a week, 6 total sets for our chest. So we're going to split that into 2 sets for our chest in a typical upper day. For my chest, I usually do 1 pressing movement and 1 fly movement. It doesn't really matter too much if you do machine, dumbbell, even barbell, but my preference is machine because it's more stable and agrees better with my body. So we'll do 1 set of a machine chest press, and then we're going to do 1 set of a chest fly. And that's all there is to it. Easy enough. Back is going to be our next focus. Now, when you're looking at back, what I think most people need to do is split their back up into 2 separate portions. So you've got your lats as 1, and then your upper to mid back as your second. 6 total sets to cover your entire back is not going to be enough. So make sure that you split it into the 2 portions that we spoke about. So let's start with our lats. For lats, I do a wide grip lat pull down for 1 set, and then a chest supported lat row, where your elbows and arms are going to be close to your body as you pull, tucked in essentially. And then for your upper back, I usually either do 2 sets of a T-bar row or 2 sets of a chest supported row. But instead of keeping your arm tucked in, your elbows are going to be flared out to the side as you pull. Make sure that you always use straps when you're performing back exercises so that your grip doesn't become a limiting factor. Arms are nice and easy. So literally all I do at the minute is 2 sets of a dumbbell bicep curl and 2 sets of a tricep straight bar push down. Really easy, really simple. Now, if you want, you can split this up and do 1 set of a preacher curl instead of 2 of the dumbbells, and 1 set of an overhead tricep extension instead of 2 sets of the push down. It's really up to you. I think maybe my exercise selection for my arms could be slightly better, but this is what I enjoy and what has worked for me, so I'm going to stick with it for now. Last thing on our list is shoulders, and since we already perform a pressing movement when we're looking at chest, I don't really give my front delts a whole lot of direct work. I usually do 1 set of a shoulder press, maybe once a week, but apart from that, I don't think most people really need a whole lot of front delt work. Now, don't get me wrong, if it's lacking in your physique, please do hit it more often, but that's just how I adjust it to match my own physique. Most of my shoulder work is based on my side delts, so I'll do 2 sets of usually a machine lateral raise. My rear delts are definitely a genetic strong point, so I don't do any direct work for them. They get no stimulus through our upper back rowing, so I just leave it at that. That should take you about an hour. Repeat 3 times a week, and that's all there really is to it. A lot simpler than it sounds. Don't do drop sets, supersets, or take short rest periods. These are going to be inferior to just performing normal working sets when you've rested adequately. I'd say probably around 3 minutes of rest would be a good baseline, but of course take more if you need it. Please do give that a go. Your exercise selection doesn't need to necessarily match mine exactly, but it's a good base to structure your upper body day off of. Honestly, the gains I saw since I started doing upper body days and lower body days is genuinely ridiculous, and I know it sounds like I'm just exaggerating that for the sake of the video, but honestly, increasing your frequency is such a cheat code. and I think heavily underrated. If you train hard, eat clean, and aim to progressively overload as much as possible whilst maintaining solid form, the results will come. If you found this helpful, drop a comment and let me know. And like and subscribe if you want to see a breakdown of what a lower body day would look like. And yeah, try this out. Let me know what you think. Good luck.